Talk 1600. You're catching the drift. Conservative talk, intelligent conversations on local, state, and national issues with Gary Wellings, chief editor of the Current newspaper and Current Online. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. And now, your host, Gary Wellings.
And good Saturday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in to catch my drift here at Wham Talk 1600. You can call into the show, 734-822-1600. Love to get your comments and opinions or questions. Not that I have answers, mind you, but your questions are certainly always welcome. What we do on the drift is go over the news we put on the Daily Drift. And if you're not going to the Daily Drift, you should be, www.thedailydrift.com. It's the news you need to know. So make sure you're going over there. And if you find a link to a story on the internet that I've missed, please email it to me, Gary at thedailydrift.com, and you can send me your comments that way as well if you don't feel like calling into the show. And I do a little morning rant every morning for 6 to 10 minutes. You can catch that also at thedailydrift.com. Go up and hit the top of the web page there. You'll see it. So they're short. Good way to get in the morning. The quality's not always that good because I'm broadcasting live from my car as I drive to work. So it's kind of fun. You can also catch archives of this show at ICRN, conservativeradionetwork.com, and on Spreaker and YouTube and SoundCloud, the whole nine yards. So it's all out there. Easy to find. I'm the easiest man in the world to find, actually. Let's take care of a little business. Burroughs Roadhouse. If you're looking for a comedy show, the best comedy show in Livingston County, make sure you get out to Burroughs Roadhouse. You can call them, 810-227-6000. They have the greatest steak dinners. They've got a bunch of coupons and stuff in the Current newspaper. If you don't have a copy of the Current, go online, print it off, and take it to them. Tell them you saw it in the Current and that you heard it here on the radio. So they've got some great lunch specials. They do great steaks. They've got just some really good coupons. You can also go to Burroughs, BURROUGHS-roadhouse.com. 810-227-6000. Okay, so we got a lot to cover today, and of course we're going to get into the Trump and the Cruz debate, and I've been debating all morning with people on Twitter, which is always kind of fun, and it's good for the show and everything else, but definitely a fun time. So if you're not on social media this election, please make sure you do. Go out and give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. Get on Facebook, and if you're one of those people like me who likes the immediate gratification and the instant banter with other people, try Twitter. It's really easy. It takes a few minutes, but you'll get used to it. And you know what? You don't have to be rude to people just because you disagree with them. So it's easy. Just remember, it's all for fun. Get out and relax. Have a little fun on your social media. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Hillary Clinton and the email probe first, because it seems like I always save this to the end and we end up getting sidetracked. And I'm not doing my job if we're not hitting Hillary Clinton a little bit. So Attorney General Loretta Lynch said there's no deadline for concluding the investigation into Hillary Clinton's email server, and said setting a deadline would only make the probe less thorough. I think that's politispeak for we're going to wait until after the election to charge Hillary. Now, what does that say about us as a nation when we're willing to set aside an investigation that may show this woman to be criminal? She's done at least as bad a thing as General Petraeus, who was convicted. Okay, he was convicted. That should preclude her from running for office, and yet it's set aside. The FBI's got a major, and make no mistake about it, folks. This is indeed a major investigation. And yet Loretta Lynch likes to say, people have to have confidence that we treat every case the same, no matter whose last name is involved and no matter how much publicity it gets. Really? Derek, do you think she's getting a special treatment on this? Tell me. Come on, be honest. Huh?
Yeah, I think she is.
Yeah, of course she is. She's getting way too much special treatment here. And maybe, I'd like to believe that they want to make sure they've got a hard-cut case so they can knock her right out of the election and let Bernie have his spotlight. But you know what? It's not going to happen. This is just a game. The only thing that we can hope for is that Bill keeps going off the rails and saying nasty things about Obama and the Obama administration, that eventually Obama's going to cut loose the dogs and say, go ahead and charge her. I'm tired of the Clintons and what they've been saying about my legacy. So you'll see that happening. I wanted to get that out there. And make sure if you find some stories about Hillary, there's a lot of it out there, make sure you email it to me, Gary@thedailydrift.com. I also wanted to talk about school spending. Now, last week we had Robert Geiske on from GOP in Washtenaw County, and he was telling us about the millage coming up on May 3rd. That's this week, folks. If you are here in Washtenaw County, Washtenaw Intermediate School District is asking for a big chunk of change, like $22 million over 10 years. And they're ostensibly saying that this is for the handicapped kids and blah, blah, blah. Well, Bob told us last week the number of handicapped kids does not amount to the amount that they need, and that they're just shoveling more money into this. And we've said this before. You're putting so much money. I think we're 26 in the nation, in the world, for results as far as our education system here in the United States, and yet we're number one in spending, and that's odd. Now, there was a report I put up on the Daily Drift the other day. The U.S. spends $6 billion, that's $6 billion with a B, a year on education. But a very large majority of high school seniors are not, get this, not college ready. Despite the fact that the U.S. spends more than $600 billion per year on education, the 2015 National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, also known as the nation's report card, shows that 26% in 2013 were not significantly different in mathematics than 2015. It's down, actually, by 1%. And that reading is also dropped from 38 to 37%. So we're spending more money, and the results are getting worse. Now, you have to ask yourself, why is that? And it's not all about the teachers. Come on, we all know that. Part of it is parents. Obviously, parents aren't like in the old days where they made us sit down and get your homework done before you start playing outside or doing whatever. But a lot of it is what they're teaching in school. They're now getting into the crazy stuff like they do at college. They're teaching socialism. They're teaching things that don't matter. You know what? Your high school and junior high and elementary should be pretty doggone basic. Civics, truthful history, math, science, and English. You know what? I'd love to see more young kids speak English. Not this crazy, and it's not just Ebonics anymore. It's the kids from the suburbs are doing the same old thing. They're talking like garbage. You know what? You are American citizens. Speak like you have an educational level of a junior high or high school person. You know what? You don't have to use. I'm guilty as anybody when it comes to swearing. I have the mouth of a sailor when I'm at home. But you know what? Pick yourselves up out of the gutter and learn to speak proper English. If you ever want to get a job, and I tell this to my son all the time as well. If you want to get a job, you better learn to speak right. You better learn to act right. You better be able to say hello and do all those things that you need to do to be socially acceptable. Because you know what? The competition for jobs is tough. Very tough. And it's getting tougher all the time because why? We bring 1 million people into the country every year. People who have better educational levels than us, obviously. So it doesn't matter. You can't always throw money at these things and think it's going to be the solution. It's not. If we're number one in spending and number 26 in results, obviously money is not the issue. I know some teachers are probably out there hating me. There's Gary ranting about it's not just you teachers. I'm not blaming you. It's the system. And I would heartily endorse all people to take a good look at charter school systems. You know what? We've got Livingston Classical Academy out here going into Livingston County this upcoming fall. Great place. Call Pat Battaglia out there. Those guys are awesome. They do a great job. They follow the Hillsdale College theme when it comes to education. It's that classic education that you don't get anywhere else. Well, let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to get right into the Cruz and Trump debate and the Indiana primary, which is on Tuesday. So we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Finding a good mechanic is like finding a good barber or a good doctor. When you find one, you don't go anyplace else. Japanese Auto Professional Service of Ann Arbor at 563 South Main Street are the mechanics you'll go back to time and time again, providing reliable, dependable, and guaranteed auto repair and service for Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Subaru, Kia, Hyundai, any make and model. Japanese Auto Professional Service of Ann Arbor will do it right the first time, every time. It's no small wonder that Jay, Joe, and crew have been in business since 1979. They've built a solid and loyal customer base, and once you visit them, you'll find out why. It's more important now than it has ever been to provide excellent customer service and care, and that's just what you get at Japanese Auto Professional Service of Ann Arbor. And they don't cost an arm or a leg. They're beyond reasonably priced. Japanese Auto Professional Service of Ann Arbor. Schedule your first visit today. Call Japanese Professional Auto Service of Ann Arbor today, 734-996-4606. That's 734-996-4606.
What kind of a country turns its tax collectors into secret police? And what do you call a government that values its own survival above the rights of its people? A country where leaders act like mob bosses, attacking citizens with rules and restrictions they fear they'll never have the power to overcome. Where the content of your prayers is between you, your God, and your government. Our nation of laws is becoming a nation of corruption, where whoever has the power throws their punches while they can. Everyone loses under this type of lawlessness. So we must do now what we've always done as Americans. As good guys, speak out. No government agency has the right to attack its citizens with fear. We are the 5 million men and women of the National Rifle Association of America, leaders in the fight for freedom for all. Join us.
Hey, could you give me a ride to the airport?
Sorry, I've already got plans.
But I haven't even told you what day yet.
Does this sound familiar? The only worst question is, can you help me move? Nobody wants to help you move. And nobody wants to take you to the airport, except, of course, Jeff Vega of Vega Transportation. Jeff's been doing this for more than a decade and knows how to make you arrive in style, on time, at the right place, 24/7. Call Jeff Vega at Vega Transportation today at 810-227-6500. That's 810-227-6500.
This is Pastor Sean Todd, the Rockin' Rev from Ignite Church. Join us every Sunday afternoon from 12 to 12:30 p.m. for The Intersection, where Christ crosses culture, as we discuss topics pertaining to faith, culture, politics, and Scripture. So join me, Pastor Sean of Ignite Church, on The Intersection every Sunday afternoon from 12 to 12:30 p.m. right here on Wham Talk 1600.
You're listening to The Drift on Wham Talk 1600. Join in the conversation at 734-822-1600. Now, back to your host, Gary Wellings.
And welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to catch my drift here at Wham Talk 1600. Good to have you along for the ride. And we're talking some news this week. Ted Cruz, oddly enough, named his VP beginning of the week, shortly after taking a beating in the Northeast primaries from Donald Trump, who took all 5 states and actually every county within those states. So it was a huge, huge victory for Trump, and it wasn't unexpected. I know Cruz didn't plan on doing very well, and but Kasich thought he would do a little better. Kasich is not doing very good at all. And he named for his vice presidential pick one Carly Fiorina, which some of us liked at the beginning a little bit. It's not that I detest the woman, but I think she bowed out when she had less than 1%. So I'm not sure that Cruz is really making a great pick in Carly Fiorina. But you know what? If he's trying to get a little news and trying to garner a little feminine support or woman votes, maybe it was a good move for him. But oddly enough, this is strange that he would pick not only so early, it's just not the way it's done. And Derek, do we have track 1 available there? Okay, I want you to listen to this. And then near the end, I also want you to listen to what Carly says, because I think it'll hit you kind of strange. Let's go with that track.
Welcome back to The Real Story. Ted Cruz grabbing headlines by naming Fiorina as his pick for VP. But let's talk about how the VP candidate actually gets picked at a contested convention. First, at a normal convention, the presidential candidates get a roll call vote, and then the VP gets a simple voice vote. But if there's a contested convention, things are more formal, and more than 2,300 delegates are bound to a presidential candidate for at least one round of voting, for the most part. But that's never the case for the VP. All 2,472 delegates are unbound when it comes to nominating a VP, meaning they can vote for whomever they want, and it's not tied to the presidential pick. So even if Cruz and Fiorina want to run together, one of them could end up on the ticket, leaving the